And you all know that have watched my channel for a long time, I am not one at all to yell racism. I don't believe everything is racist. I believe there are just a lot of ignorant ass people in the world that say stupid shit and mean shit and hate people for stupid reasons.
No, they're gonna go in this way, they're gonna rise down there. Let's work their way to Ilford.
Are they actually helping him up? Oh my god. Going for his bag? Ah, he just took something from his bag?
Where were you in 1981 in Brixton?
Mr.
They had a, I don't call it rioting, I call it an insurrection of the masses of the people. It is happening in Syria, it is happening in Clapham, it's happening in Liverpool, it's happening in Port of Spain, Trinidad, and that is the nature of the historical moment.
Mr. Howe,
It takes...
Mr. Howe, if I can just ask you, you are not a stranger to riots yourself, I understand, are you? You have taken part in them yourself.
I have never taken part in a single riot. I've been on demonstrations that ended up in a conflict, and have some respect for an old West Indian Negro and stop accusing me of being a rioter. Because you won't tickle me to get abusive. You just sound idiotic. Have some respect.
Douglas Howe,
grandchildren.
Thank you very much for joining us from Croydon. Douglas Howe, their writer and broadcaster.
Okay, well, there's been a huge knock-on to lots of aspects.
And this is pure criminality. I agree with David Cameron on that. And I think that the point has come where we have to call in the armed forces. What we're seeing now is chaos and chaotic criminality across the whole of London. It's not confined to one place, as when we've had riots in the past. For example, in Brixton in the 1980s. This is now spreading across the whole of London. Even my area in Ilford is rumoured to be targeted tonight. I've told my assistants to leave the office early, and people are battening down the hatches. Now, what we should do, in my view, is pull our troops back from these pointless wars in Afghanistan, in Iraq, where we should never have been in the first place. Their only function, as far as I can see, is to help make Tony Blair a multi-millionaire in the USA. Let's get our troops back into this country and actually put them on the streets supporting the police in order to crush this this criminal insurrection, because it's nothing better than that. What I've heard on some of your previous interviews is a lot of the usual wet special pleading about these, these poor disadvantaged people don't have jobs. There's jobs there if they wanted to do them. Most jobs now are filled by in pubs, in shops, in everywhere you go. They're filled by Eastern Europeans who are highly educated, who actually speak the language, and they're getting the jobs, and our own people are not getting them very often because they're not interested in education. They don't really want to work, and it doesn't surprise me now that we're seeing these people on the streets looting. This is a kind of criminal shopping spree that they're going on because of the lax approach that we've had to actually arresting people and punishing people in this country for years.
By the grace of God Almighty and the pressures of the marketplace, the human race has civilized itself. It's a miracle. The revolution will not be televised. You have been told this for many years, yet you refuse to listen. Violence, looting, and participation in the superiority or inferiority belief systems is distorting what you see. most of the people who participate in this so-called insurrection have no plan. They are feeding off of the programming of the media. They are feeding off of the toxins generated by broken families. They are feeding off of hate that has simmered within them for years. They are feeding off of the indulgence of suffering. This is a thug nation. It is not a race thing. It is a consciousness thing. It is sick to think that people are using this moment to shop for electronics. What gives these people the right to damage another person's property? There are many people, hard-working people, who sacrifice and work diligently to physically realize their dream and to create financial security for their families. Yet, in a matter of minutes, the mob mentality crushes their hope in humanity and drains them of their resources. Are your hands over your ears? What makes you think these rights are not being allowed to benefit the criminal elite? Ever thought about what excuse this will provide your masters in reinforcing more restrictive draconian means on the populace? So, you're concerned about the state of affairs around the world. Wake up. What you see in the UK is more than likely coming to America soon. You fall for the theater of government. You feed the ego machine with cults of personality. You promote the soap opera of the party line. You justify degenerate behavior of rioters. You justify degenerate behavior of GOP, Limbaugh, Beck, Palin, O'Reilly, President Obama, Sharpton, the religious right, and so on. You say social justice breeds social disease, and yet you support programs that hurts one group and superficially supports another. You take the shooting death of a man by police officers and you campaign for violence? It is sickening that a group exists that thinks white people are inherently evil. Don't you see that the state of objectionable behavior is not something that is passed genetically? Participation in groupthink due to political correct attitudes, which are trend-based, is only submission of your personal power. Whites are as potentially evil as blacks, and so on and so forth. Disenfranchised youth demonstrating some of the worst that humans have to offer is sickening. People on automatic participating in the thug culture can't wait to prostitute their minds for a flat screen television. The addicts are showing you what they value, a unit used to inspire consumption and provide a dose of programming, violence, spin, and rhetoric. Yeah, that's real progress. The people who are participating in this riot because of political concerns, where is your focus? Is it to support the punk who is carjacking? Are you directing your want of reform by correcting the abuses yielded by corporations and your government? Or are you assisting others in the destruction of life and home? Is this what you value? Do not pretend that harmony trumps calling something what it is. I encourage all of you who witness this subjugation of another to decry it and to act responsibly against it. And if people who are doing the action look like you, decry it even louder. Do not be a slave to indifference or fear being ostracized. Isn't it surprising that racially motivated activity builds into greater racially motivated activity? You do not have to buy conspiracy theory to understand that this sort of behavior will authenticate the need for a police state. Can't you see the stop and frisk searches commencing? Ah, I smell a rat. The hypocrisy in the black community is overwhelming me. So it is wrong for the Klan to harm you. It is wrong for you to be improperly discriminated against. It's wrong to have racial profiling. It's wrong to be seen as less than human due to genetic composition. It's fucking wrong for the sickness of racism to be turned in your direction. But it's right to model that which you claim to despise. It is right to harm another because you do not think for yourself. It's okay to not loot and rob in your own neighborhood, but it's all right to do it against whites. It's okay to be programmed by false education, Hollywood, media publication, and ethnocentric organizations who tend to be one-sided in their assessment of reality, by the way. It is right to embrace the suffering of another human. It is right to embrace the suffering of another human being because you have a callus on your spirit. It's perfectly okay to be indifferent to the hopes and dreams of someone that does not look like you or whose culture is different than yours. This is sickness to believe what you are doing is right. It is an entitlement you allow for all of the documented evils or lies promoted for division. Do you have enough rope? Now, it will be said that 99.9% of the rioters are black, that the media shows white contributors only to shift the blame to evil whitey. Well, I do not know what the intent of the media is or the racial breakdown of law offenders. I do know that it is bogus to assert that 99% of any race in a specific incident who commit a crime, that this incident directly reflects the potential criminal behavior of the entire group. Do not think I see any noble or saintly groups here. I do not, and any falsehood I am aware of will not be supported by me. Many of the rioters are opportunists. The justification is the excuse of poverty and exclusion. So, let me ask you this. Why not take the same energy and try to improve your situation? Huh? I'll tell you why. Because these people have bought into instant gratification. There is a difference between organizing an event of dissent and focusing your energies on this versus what has occurred. Everyone has an agenda. Some will say this riot was a catalyst for blacks to utilize a grievance in order to create sympathy in legitimizing criminal behavior. Now, the flaw is obvious here. This is a generalization. It is the viewing of this event as a never-ending pattern. This is also functioning like a confirmatory bias. No doubt, the person who follows this line of thought does not see the ability of people to live and function in peace. Or that there are people of every color who utilize the grievance process to crush real injustice. It is a waste of time condemning a race as being completely this or that. We need to concentrate on the problem, identify it with proper use of emotions and reason. Then we need to see that familiarity does not breed contempt. It is disrespect, bias, outdated stereotypes, stupidity, greed, real pathologies, and lust for power. Though there is a racial divide in many parts of the world, do not let the spin doctors convince you that this is solely an action of blacks rioting against whites. This is people looking for an excuse to administer their agenda on another. This agenda takes shape in many forms. At the end of the day, it is people imposing their will on another. This faceless enemy is primarily yourself and your unwillingness to see the ugliness with the beauty.